This is our recording plan for Livadya. What we need to do is simple. We already have a demo, so we need to follow the outlines and improve on the song. We wrote a few more verses. So I'm gonna record the guitar, the rhythm. As we don't have a microphone stand and a proper microphone, we decided not to record acoustic guitars on this one, so it's gonna be electric guitar. And then my brother's gonna come home and record the drums. And then I'm gonna jump over and play some lead lines and record my vocals again. Or we'll simply transfer it. And then we're gonna bring a friend in to play the bass on the song. And then I'm gonna go back and redo some of my lead lines. I'm gonna go back and redo some of my vocals, add my harmonies, and then I'm gonna mix the song. And we're gonna do all of that today. So now I'm gonna go get a shower, because I look really dirty and messy. And then I'm gonna get started. Let's go. Right, now I'm gonna record the guitars. But before I do that, I'm gonna write the entire chord progression down on my whiteboard and just get the whole thing done, hopefully in one take. Fingers crossed, never happens, but you never know. And I'm just gonna move on from there. I don't wanna dwell on it. I wanna get a near perfect take, as good as I can do it, and then just on to the next bit. So let's get to it. Okay, I'm about to record the guitar, but before I do that, I'm gonna write down my chord progression on my whiteboard so I can just follow along, make sure I don't make any mistakes. Because even though I have a demo, I'm just gonna record the guitar only first, like just redo it, play it better, hopefully get it down in one take, and then I'm not gonna dwell on it, just on to the next thing. Yeah, let's get to it. Okay, I know I'm too close, but this is the only way the light works. I got my chord progression sorted, as you can see right there. I've got my intro, verse, middle 8, and then verse 2 with the hook just before the chorus. So I'm gonna record that bit only now, and then listen to it, and then hopefully record the chorus. So let's go. Cool. Right, so thought I'd show you my setup before I record anything. This is the amp setup that I've got on. I've got the Blues Blaster amp, which I think is like a Chris Stapleton, like a Princeton 65, the brown one. I'm not sure if that's the, I'm gonna put a picture of the amp that I'm talking about, like around here. So I feel like it's an emulator of that one. And it sounds like this. I pushed the gain a little bit, as you can see, and then I've got some tremolo, etc., using a ribbon mic, I believe. I'm not sure if that was the mic that I used when I was recording the demo, but I can always adjust that afterwards. And then I'm running that through my Valhalla Vintage Verb, which just happens to be the modern color. I'm actually going to change that into the 70s. Like that better. This is the setup. I'm using a preset again, just to save time. I can always work on that later when I'm mixing the song. And now it's time to record. I think that works. One take, I think we got it. You see, this is the reality of recording, right? So far I did like 2 full takes, and then I went over the takes I did and fixed the few things that I didn't like. So that makes what? A full, maybe 4 take performance. Now that I'm doing a new take, a full new take, my mind is fatigued. Like, I don't know if it happens to everyone, but it happens to me, and it's important to know yourself. Now I start to overthink everything, and I'm not performing, but I'm thinking the performance. To get rid of that, you just gotta start fresh, take a break, and come back to it. So here's a sip of tea. Here we go. Okay, here we go.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Stop thinking. Feel it when you're playing. No, don't think. Okay. I can hear how out of tune that is. Alright, here we go. I think that sounded good. I did fall into my own trap. It's like the overthinkistan. It's like you get a good enough performance, you gotta move on. It's a good enough take, it works, move on. I didn't, and I spent way too much time on something I shouldn't have. But it's okay, we have to move. Now we have to move on. We can't overthink what we overthought. So now I'm gonna quickly figure out the structure from the verse and on, from the middle 8 and on, into the chorus, and into the last verse. So let's figure that out, write it down on our whiteboard, and then record that. Hopefully in less takes. Alright, so this is the structure I've got so far. Now I'm gonna add my hook to it, my post-chorus melody, whatever you want to call it. Alright, I recorded a quick lead line to accompany me while I play the chorus, and it sounds like this. So now I'm just gonna record my guitars while that plays on the other track. Which is simply B flat major into D minor, and we repeat that once, and then obviously we go into G. So that's my structure right now. I'm just going to record that. Alright, so like last time, I've got a lead line that will play along while I play the chords. These are just, dummies, if you want to call them that. This is what it sounds like. Now I'm going to record my chords over that. Here we go. Perfecto. And then from here, we're going to go into one last verse, which is quite similar. Actually, we're only going to do that once. Go into D minor and A minor. And then, okay, now the thing about this last verse is that I want it to be a lot more loose, just sort of the last verse and then going into the melody, but it's more sort of like a fade out. So I'm just going to keep playing it, keep singing it, and then that's going to be how the song ends, basically. So here we go. Wish I could still moonshine rising behind, moonshine rising behind, moonshine rising Rising behind, moonshine rising behind. after filing, this is the last bit of this lead guitar. Cool. Alright, so just because I'm in the groove, I'm quickly going to record the lead guitar lines that I played, which were meant to be the mock ones. I really liked them, so I'm going to keep them for now. So let's record those. Ah, come on. Okay, now we're recording the drums. I changed the structure a little bit yesterday. So we just went over it with Arda and he kind of learned it, so we're gonna give it a go. We're gonna try first verse into first chorus, I think. So let's see how that works. Yes, you're rushing.
Rushing.
Tamam. Buraya kadar iyi şeyden alalım. Dat dat dat dat dat kısmından.
Livadya olan kısmı da burası. Okay.
Buraya zil ekleyeceğim. Buraya. Right.
What's that? Okay. Burada şeye geçmen lazım. Du, du, du, da, du. Şeyde ram.
Metronomu çok kaydedin.
Dragging.
Duymam çünkü. Oldu galiba. Oldu.
Again, please don't call me arrogant because what I'm saying is true.
Burada şeye geçmen lazım. Du, du, du, da, du.
Şeyde.
Buraya bize bir crash ver. Oraya gene bir crash. Benden.
İlk crash galiba zayıf oldu.
Bir şey de hallederik. Time to do the vocals. So, this room sounds horrible, as you can hear. We tried to dampen it with a blanket and stuff. With a blanket, but we couldn't find a spot to like hang it on. So, the good old wardrobe is gonna have to do the trick. So this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get in there. And there's no, it's very dry in here. So what clothes are doing is it dampens the sound. So from here it's like, da! And then here it's like, very dry. So we're gonna record in here. Let's do that now. Also, we're gonna be using my brother's gaming headphones to record the vocals with, because they're like closed back, so you know, I can't really hear anything, which means the click won't, you know, the microphone won't pick up the click as well in the backing track. So we're going to be using these. Lavender lime, passing of time. Light breeze a lot on my mind. The mountains I move are back in my sight. Valley of life, perspective of mind. Can kill a man who's always looking behind. Mountains I moved are back in my sight. I always come back to Livadya. Livadya. Riding away, wish I could stay. Mountains I moved are now out of sight. Mountains I moved are now out of sight. Moonshine rising behind. Moonshine rising behind. Moonshine rising behind. Moonshine rising behind. Moonshine rising behind. Moonshine rising behind. Moonshine rising behind. Mountains I moved are back in my sight. Mountains, mountains I moved. Mountains I moved, mountains I moved. Mountains I moved are back in my sight. And time has passed, and now I have changed. Hey! Hoba! Hey! Hi, dobre! Okay. That's all the vocals. Right now, we're gonna record some bass. We got Daren with us, who also played the bass during our gig in March last year. Can't believe that was a year ago. I'm gonna quickly show you my screen. This is the setup I've got for Daren's bass guitar. This is the bass amp simulator that I've got. We've rolled the treble down a little bit, got some compression on there, and then I've got another compressor pedal just to solidify the sound a little bit. Daren, give us a note, give us a line.
Anything.
Yeah. So that's what it sounds like. And we're just gonna hit record and see how it goes. Back in my side. So Daren came pretty much prepared. He wrote his own bass line and we just went over it and kind of produced it a little bit, simplified a few things, and we're gonna see how that sounds.
Sahibi de alalım direkt.
Da dur orada daha çok.
Unuttum çünkü şeyi.
Ki düşün orada. Da. Valley of life, perspective of mind. Can feel the matters always looking behind. Mountains I back in my side. I always come back to you.
Orada sussun biraz.
Bence oldu ya.
Son bir kez daha alalım.
Tamam.
Okey. Deneyelim.
Valley of life, perspective of mind. Can feel the matters always looking behind. Mountains I back in my side. Bir sonraki kısma baktın mı? Bakabildin mi?
Dinledim ama yazmadım daha.
Tamam. Gene bu burası direkt. Aynı şey var. Renk minör fa. Mi.
Simple yapabilirim veya ateş yapabilirim. Yani çok hoş bir yer sonra. Sen beraber.
Tamam. Bu da tamamdır. Şimdi parça biraz hikayesinden anlatayım sana. Hissiyatından dersin bu kısmın. Parça köyde yazdık. Geldiğim günün ertesi günü. Direkt ben Arda hayatımda enstrümana ilgilenmiş şeydim. Oturduk bir şarkı yazalım dedik ve hikaye şeyden başladı. Nasıl hissederek bugün? Benim dedi ki bayağı ferah hissederim, sınavlarım bitti, köye gelmek güzel. Evet dedim ben de. İngiltere'nin kapalı havasında buraya gittim. Bir an açıldık. Sözleri zaten. Livadya I, passing of time. Mountains I moved are back in my sights dedik direkt olarak. Yani mücadele ettiğin, dağlara gittin dedim, dağlara ettin. Ve o dağlar tekrar karşımda aslında o kadar kötü bir şey değilmiş gibi hisseder. Parça ileride şeyler. İkinci verse'de. Valley of life, perspective of mind can kill a man who's always looking behind.
Tamam.
Burada karakter bir değişim geçirdi. Son verse çok kısadır. Sadece riding away, wish I could stay. Gene mountains I moved ve arkadan harmoniler moonshine rising behind. Sunshine rising behind. Mountains are moonshine. Süper.
Tamamdır.
That's it.
Bir dinleyelim baştan.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the mix now. I've already mixed the song just to save some time in the vlog because it takes way too long to mix to do it in real time in the vlog. And yeah, I usually do 2-3 hour sessions when I'm mixing. If it takes any longer than 2-3 hour sessions, it's usually because either the arrangement is not working or the song is not recorded well enough, and it just becomes too much of a hassle, really. So my advice would be that if you're spending like weeks and weeks on a mix and it's still not working, it's probably a good idea to sort of visit the planning board again, if that's the term. So I'm going to show you quickly what I did with the mix. I started with the guitars. We DI'd the guitars directly going into my interface. Everything was pretty much sort of sounding okay anyway. We had this amp that we talked about earlier, which was, based off of Chris Stapleton's sound. It didn't have any reverb on it, just a bit of tremolo. So what I did was basically for the rhythm, just a slight EQ to take out a little bit of the bass, and then I boosted it a little bit, just gave it some color with some drive and compression, and then I sent it to my Valhalla Vintage for some reverb, and then I panned that to the left. The lead guitars I felt lacked a little bit of body to them. With spaghetti western type guitars, they can sometimes be a bit thin if you're not careful. So what I did was basically I used a bit of compression on there just to give it some life, and then I used the channel strip to boost a little bit of sort of the mids and the low mids. Again, I wanted it to have more presence in the song as they're quite integral to how the song sounds. And then I sent that to the reverb as well, and then some more reverb, which is a bit bigger, and then I'm sending that reverb to bus 10, which is what I call dirt and grid, so a bit of saturation, a bit of dirt on there, just to again give it some life. And then I pretty much did the same thing with the rest of the leads. I have a guitar solo later in the song, quite similar. Again, SSL native strip to give it some color, boosted the high frequencies a little bit just to get the solo to stand out, and then I've got the lead 2, which has bigger reverb to give it a more stereo sound in the spectrum. I shifted my focus to the bass. We started out with this amp that we have. I didn't really use an amp simulator here, so I went direct box, as you can see here, which is sort of like a DI. Again, this was recorded straight into my interface, into Logic, and then I've got this squash pedal that I had on while we were recording the bass, just to get an idea of compression, and we wanted things to sound nice and dynamic. Again, the bass was quite easy to mix simply because Daren played it very well, and like I said earlier, a good arrangement is always key to a good mix. Then I used the 4K channel strip to do some attenuation, mostly on the sub frequencies. We don't want things to sound too subby to make room for the kick. And then that's pretty much it. I did, however, do some parallel compression with the bass. So basically I sent a dry signal into another bus where I really compressed the signal, and then I put some drive on there, some vintage drive, and pushed some of the higher frequencies here, such as 1K, 2K, and 4K, just to get that plucking of the string sound out. And then I sort of adjusted the gain level here. Basically, the idea here is that I was boosting some of the higher frequencies / putting some harmonic distortion on there, and then controlling it with my fader so that we're giving it a flavor and not really mixing this drive into the dry signal. So as I was mixing the bass, I was simultaneously mixing the drums as well. Again, when I say I did this and I did that, it doesn't mean I mixed in isolation. I never do that. I just shift my focus from one thing to another. But just because I solo a channel like this doesn't mean I'm only mixing that. I'm always constantly listening to everything else to make sure everything fits nicely. With the drums, it was pretty much pre-mixed. The drums were MIDI, straight from the Logic preset. What I did, however, with the drums was I boosted the room reverb just a little bit to bring it more forward in the mix. Mostly everything being DI'd or straight into my interface, we needed more room and more wideness in the mix, so that's why I did that. And then overall, the entire drum bus, I sent it to my SSL channel strip, boosted the highs a little bit, just did some surgical EQing and then some low-key compression on there just to bring all the colors together, just because we have two channels here. One here is just basically just the cymbals, just to get an overhead vibe. And lastly, the vocals. The vocals were the most challenging part of this mix, mostly because, like I said earlier, if something's not recorded well, it's very difficult to fix it in the mix, and that's not what you're supposed to do in the mix. If you're doing way too much fixing and not enough mixing, then it might be worth going back to the planning board and re-recording some bits. It might actually make the mixing process a lot more fun and a lot more smooth. So in our case, we were recording into my BM800, a $15 microphone I got off of eBay when I was 15 years old, so we had to do quite a lot of processing on them. I've got some light compression on there as we were recording it, just to tame the vocals a little bit, some de-esser, some surgical EQing. The lower frequencies in this mic are quite prominent, and frankly they don't sound very nice, so I had to attenuate them a little bit. And then I'm sending it into a vintage drive for some tape saturation to bring out some of the higher frequencies that the microphone otherwise struggles to take out of your performance. And then I sent it to my SSL channel strip, again attenuating those artificial high frequencies that we added to the mix, just controlling them, if you will, boosting the 6K a little bit and then attenuating the 1K, just because the microphone on its own leans towards those frequencies. We want to make sure it sounds nice and smooth. And then after that, as I was listening to the mix and how everything sounded together, I felt the vocals were still clashing a little bit with the bass, guitar, and then the kick drum in certain points. So I pulled down a little more of the 150 hertz that was more compulsive than anything, and then sending it to my Valhalla Vintage plate, and then making sure it sounds nice and authentic by sending the reverb to a different bus that we called Dirt and Grit as well, and then sending the vocals to my browerizing compression bus. To very quickly explain what I mean by browerizing, it's a term coined by a member of Coldplay. It involves mixing into compression rather than through compression. Michael Brauer is a great mixing engineer. I recommend checking him out if you can. He mixed for artists like, again, Coldplay and John Mayer, who's one of my favorite artists of all time. So I did something similar. If you can think about parallel compression, what we did on the bass guitar, sending our dry signal into compression and drive rather than just putting it on there, it's a very similar method. I've got some light compression on there, like very light compression, and then using the bus compressor, SSL bus compressor, to do a bit more of it. And basically I did this with every single vocal channel that I have, and it just helps me bring the colors together, if you will. Everything sounds more together because we have things in different channels and we want them to sound similar to each other, if that makes any sense at all. Sorry, I'm not very good at explaining this. Very similar with the harmonies, literally the same channel strip on the harmonies, and then I've got some slow compression on there just to bring the color of the harmonies together, if you will. And then after that, I've got the main vocal for the chorus, which is a bit more sort of rapping slash spoken word. I always come back to Livadya. So before any processing, it sounds like this. I always come back to Livadya. Quite, normal and dry. There's nothing wrong with that, but I felt that this part of the song needed some kind of different aspect to it. So I felt that this part of the song could benefit from a vintage old telephone sound, as I was sort of just speaking my mind. I always come back to Livadya. To achieve that, I basically put some analog drive on there, and then I did some high pass and low pass processing, and then I added some compression with a very high ratio, fast attack, really sort of pushing it there to remove the dynamics that we don't really need here. After that, I have what I call the Cowboys, sort of coining Chobi and Cowboys there, very unfunnily. But this is the bit where I sort of do a call and response thing in the song. The mountains I moved and times passed. So again, this part of the song, these recordings were very difficult to mix. For some reason, nothing sounded good in these harmonies. So I played into it. I put some phaser on there. I put some LMC plus, some drive. Tried to make it sound quirky rather than high quality. So I sent it to a bus I call LST, which is a flanger, and then some stereo widener, and some more drive actually. I didn't feed all of my dry signal into this, just a little bit of it. And then when I made that sound nice and quirky, I put some reverb on it, and then again sending it to my Brawerize bus. And then finally I have the choir, which is me and the boys just sort of again yelling into the microphone.
Not Rome, not Vienna, it's California.
So with this bit, we wanted to make it sound more crowded than 3 people. It was just me, Arda, and Kuzey, and it does sound quite nice and tight. So what I did was basically I attenuated the higher frequencies and gave it some more body by pushing 1 kilohertz. Ironically, the only frequency in this microphone that sounds somewhat good. And then I sent that to my reverb. And then what I also did with this choir was I sent quite a lot of the signal into the very same room reverb that I'm sending the drums to. Again, making use of that space that we brought into the mix with the drums, just making it sound nice and wide. And then some dirt and grid, and obviously sending it to the Brawerize. And that's all I did with the mix. Obviously I wanted to go more in depth and geek out about every single thing I did, but I can't show you everything I did because it would get really boring for anyone who's not interested in mixing, so we're trying to balance it out here. I hope that made some kind of sense to everyone watching. I'm not going to play the mix right now because what you're hearing is me speaking into my microphone, and then I think what you would hear if I played the mix would be what's coming out of my speakers into my microphone. So I'm not going to do that, but we are going to play you the song, I think right after this. So stick around and hear how it sounds. All right. Lavender line, passing of time. Light breeze a lot on my mind. The mountains I moved, are back in my sight, Valley of life, perspective of mind, can kill a man who's always looking behind. The mountains I moved,
And time passed,
are back in my sight.
now I have changed.
I always come back to Livadya.
Not Rome, not Vienna,
I always come back to Livadya.
not Los Angeles, California.
I always come back to Livadya.
Not Rome, not Vienna.
I always come back to Livadya.
Hi, dobre.
Riding away, wish I could stay. Mountains I move,
Shine rising behind.
are out of sight.
Shine rising behind.
Mountains I move,
Shine rising behind.
slowly out of sight.
Shine